Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's conversation isn't just about silence, it's about rebirth. Because when someone walks away, or when you choose to stop reaching out, it might feel like an ending. But often, no contact isn't the closing chapter, it's the first page of who you're becoming. Let's be honest, we live in a world addicted to attention. Seen receipts, 24-hour stories, double taps and streaks. Connection has become performative. So when you go silent in a world that's constantly shouting, it shakes everything. But here's the truth no one tells you. When you stop talking to them, you start hearing yourself. No contact isn't punishment, it's power. It's the moment you stop begging for clarity outside and start building peace inside. Someone might say they'll forget you, but what they don't know is that you're remembering you. When the world sees you withdrawing, they assume you're broken. But what if that silence is your cocoon? What if the pain is not proof of weakness, but the beginning of your wings? Today we're going to explore 6 hidden transformations that unfold when you step into no contact, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. These are not about tactics, they're about truth. These are the subtle shifts no one sees but you feel, deep in your gut, your spirit, your becoming. As Rumi once wrote, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you." And that's what we're doing here. Letting life unfold, without chasing, without proving, without shrinking. Whether they come back or not becomes irrelevant, because what returns is far more important. Your peace, your clarity, your control. So if you've been silent lately, not because you don't care, but because you finally do, this message is for you. Let's discover what silence is really saying. Let's go start. Number 1. Silence awakens your inner voice. No contact. Those 2 words sound so small, yet carry a universe of emotions. When we decide to walk away, not out of revenge, not to teach a lesson, but to protect our inner peace, that's when true transformation begins. And in that sacred silence, something magical happens. Your inner voice starts to wake up. The one that's been drowned out for so long by begging texts, unread messages, and nights spent staring at your screen. At first, that silence feels loud, unbearable even. You reach for your phone out of habit, half hoping they've texted, half hoping they've finally realized what they lost. But nothing comes, and that nothingness, it becomes your teacher. Because in that very void, you meet someone far more important, yourself. In that space where their words once echoed, now your own thoughts begin to rise. You begin to hear whispers of dreams you once shelved. You remember how bright your spirit was before you made it a full-time job to fix someone who didn't want to heal. You begin to understand. It was never just about losing them. It was about losing you. And now it's about finding you again. Social media might show them smiling, posting stories, moving on, but don't be fooled. Appearances don't equal peace. You, in your silence, are doing something far braver. You're sitting with your pain, facing the mirror, rebuilding your truth. That's not weakness, that's evolution. As Rumi said, the wound is the place where the light enters you. And oh, how brightly you begin to glow when you stop chasing closure and start creating your own clarity. You don't need to break silence to get answers. You become the answer. You become the proof that you can be whole without anyone needing to return. So if you're in that phase now, where silence feels suffocating, breathe, stay, listen. Because what you hear in this quiet will guide you more than any conversation ever could. Your evolution didn't begin with them leaving. It began when you stopped abandoning yourself. This is not just no contact, this is rebirth. Number 2, space reveals who you truly are. When you begin the no-contact journey, you're not just stepping away from someone, you're stepping into space. And that space is terrifying at first. It feels empty, cold and silent. But give it time and you'll see, it's not empty, it's cleansing. Because in that wide open room of your own life, without distractions, without their voice constantly shaping your feelings, you finally have the chance to meet yourself raw and unfiltered. You begin to ask the questions you've avoided for too long. Was I loved, or was I just convenient? Was I seen, or was I only needed when it benefited them? Did I shrink myself just to keep them comfortable? These are not questions you can ask when you're still entangled. This clarity only comes in absence. In this space, your reflection becomes sharper. The little compromises you made, laughing at things that hurt, agreeing to silence your voice, apologizing just to keep peace. You start to see them for what they were, not love, but survival. And as that truth hits, it doesn't break you, it frees you. Modern relationships, especially in the age of social media, often become performance art. We curate, we present, we pretend. But silence strips the stage bare. There are no filters in solitude, and ironically, that's where you become most authentic. You begin to take long walks without checking your phone. You read books not to escape, but to explore. You revisit old music, and it hits differently, not because of nostalgia, but because you're finally hearing the lyrics from your own perspective, not theirs. This space allows for healing that isn't performative. You're not trying to look strong, you're becoming strong. Not through quotes or reels, but through slow, honest realization. Through tears cried on your own pillow, through laughs rediscovered in silence, through mornings where you don't feel like checking if they've watched your story. The world teaches us to move on fast, to fill silence with rebound distractions. But if you resist that temptation, if you just hold space, something beautiful unfolds. You don't just recover, you evolve. You become clearer, braver, and more aligned. As Viktor Frankl wrote, between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. No contact wasn't just the start. This space is where your real story begins. Number 3, silence becomes the mirror you always avoided. Let's talk about one of the most uncomfortable yet transformational phases of going no contact: the silence. It's more than just the absence of their voice or their texts. It's the moment your inner voice gets louder. It becomes a mirror you can no longer walk past or ignore. When communication stops, the echo of your unspoken thoughts starts to fill the room, and that's when it hits you. You were never afraid of losing them. You were afraid of meeting yourself. In relationships, especially those that grow toxic or codependent, we use the other person as a distraction from our own wounds. We make them the center of our validation, our peace, even our identity. And so, when silence falls, the brain screams. It wants a fix. It wants closure. But the truth is, closure isn't something they give you. It's something you give yourself in silence. That's where the mirror shows you everything. The people-pleasing, the settling, the red flags you ignored, the moments you stayed when your soul whispered, "Run." It's painful, but it's necessary, because without that raw confrontation, you stay stuck in cycles. And here's the deeper truth. Most people break no contact, not because they miss the person, but because they can't handle the mirror. They can't sit with themselves long enough to evolve. But if you do, if you brave the silence, you'll discover the most liberating thing in the world: self-truth. You'll realize you are more resilient than you thought, that your softness wasn't a weakness, it was rare courage, that your loyalty wasn't blind, it was beautiful, even if it was misplaced. And slowly, silence stops feeling like a punishment. It becomes peace. You begin to notice the absence of anxiety. You sleep deeper, breathe lighter, laugh more honestly. That mirror, it becomes a map, a guide back to the version of you that existed before the hurt. As Rumi once said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." In that mirror of silence, you don't just see pain. You see light breaking through the cracks. This point in your journey isn't about getting them back. It's about getting yourself back, piece by piece, memory by memory, moment by moment. Because when the silence becomes your mirror and you finally dare to look, you evolve. Number 4. Silence turns into your inner fortress. At first, the silence feels unbearable. It feels like a void, a weight pressing on your chest, as if you've been left in the middle of an emotional desert without a map. But slowly, painfully slowly, something begins to shift. That silence, it starts to harden. Not like a wall to keep others out, but like a fortress, a stronghold you build within yourself. When there's no more late-night texts, no breadcrumb messages, no digital dopamine hits to distract you, you begin to fortify your mind. You become more aware of your triggers, your weaknesses, and most importantly, your boundaries. This phase teaches you what no amount of advice ever could: how to guard your peace. And here's the magic. You don't become heartless. You become selective. You stop letting people back in just because they show up. You begin to demand more than potential. You want effort, not excuses. Consistency, not crumbs. It's in this quiet phase that your self-respect sharpens. You remember how much of yourself you gave away for free, your energy, your time, your softness, and now you learn to protect it, not out of bitterness, but out of self-worth. Social media may tempt you to believe everyone is moving on faster than you. They post, they smile, they flex. But you're doing the real work, the silent, unseen, soul-deep healing. You're not rushing to be seen. You're focused on becoming someone unshakable. As Lao Tzu said, "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." And that's what you're doing, conquering yourself, layer by layer, doubt by doubt. You no longer chase closure, you become it. You no longer need validation, you embody it. You no longer fear loneliness, you honor it. And perhaps most powerful of all, you begin to notice a strange shift. The silence that once hurt you now comforts you. It becomes your companion, your teacher, your shield. You protect your peace like sacred ground, because now you know how much it cost you to earn it. So yes, no contact was just the beginning. But this silence, it's not just a phase. It's your inner fortress, built from pain, guarded by wisdom, and powered by your rebirth. Number 5. When you stop reaching, you start rising. One of the most profound lessons no contact brings is this: your healing begins the moment you stop reaching. At first, not texting, not calling, not checking their stories feels like self-punishment. But in reality, it's self-protection. You're breaking a cycle, a loop of emotional dependency disguised as care. You begin to understand that reaching out doesn't bring peace. It brings temporary relief and long-term chaos. Every time you tried to check in, hoping for warmth, you got coldness. Every time you sent that "just wondering how you're doing" text, you lost a piece of your power. But now, you're done giving your light to someone who only sees your glow when they're in the dark. Instead of pouring your heart into a black hole, you turn inward. You pour into yourself. You start rebuilding the parts of you that you gave away, piece by piece. Your mornings feel different. You don't wake up wondering if they thought of you. You wake up thinking, what do I need today? No contact reveals the truth. You were never too much. You were just misdirected. You see that love isn't proven by how hard you fight for someone who's not fighting back. It's shown in how deeply you choose yourself even when it hurts. And that, my friend, is when your rise begins. You find yourself investing in small things that matter. Reading that book you kept on the shelf. Taking a walk without checking your phone. Listening to your own voice instead of theirs. Your intuition sharpens. Your energy cleanses. You become more you and less of who you had to be to keep that old connection alive. You start feeling lighter, not because they came back, but because you did. You came back to your own heart, your own worth. You realize you were never meant to beg for affection, wait in anxiety, or compete with silence. And when you stop reaching for someone else, your hands become free to build yourself. As the poet Naysayer Washed once wrote, "If someone does not want me, it is not the end of the world. But if I do not want me, the world is nothing but endings." You want you now. You choose you now. And that's when evolution takes flight. Number 6. You become who you were meant to be. There is a quiet moment, often overlooked, that arrives deep into no contact. It's not marked by rage, tears, or longing. It's marked by peace. A gentle, still peace that whispers, "Not everything broken needs fixing. Some things need to be left alone so that you can finally become whole." You start to notice subtle shifts. The way you speak to yourself becomes softer. The way you walk into a room feels lighter. You're no longer chasing closure. You are writing it. With every sunrise, you feel more like yourself and less like the version of you that needed someone else to feel complete. This is not a return to who you used to be. That person doesn't exist anymore. This is a rebirth, an evolution into someone wiser, calmer, and more aligned with truth. You begin making decisions without second-guessing them. You reclaim the dreams you once set aside. You no longer ask, "Will they come back?" Instead you ask, "Do I even want what I once waited for?" And sometimes the answer surprises you. There is deep power in your detachment, not coldness, not bitterness, but clarity. You realize love is not a rescue mission. You're not here to fix, convince, or sacrifice endlessly. You're here to live, to create, to grow. No contact was never just silence. It was the mirror you didn't want, but desperately needed. It showed you the cracks in your self-worth and gave you the tools to fill them, not with someone else, but with you. People around you begin to notice. Your energy changes. You become magnetic, not because you're trying, but because you've become grounded, confident, free. And here's the most unexpected part. You no longer need them to come back for you to feel closure. Why? Because you've returned to yourself. You are your own home now. That version of you who was confused, lost, or desperate, gone. In their place stands someone reborn through silence. As Carl Jung beautifully said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." And now you choose to become more. No contact wasn't the end of the story. It was the page-turner. The moment you stopped surviving and started living. This is your evolution. Conclusion. So, what began as silence became a doorway, not to loneliness, but to transformation. No contact wasn't just a tactic. It wasn't revenge, nor was it a game. It was the moment the noise stopped and the real healing began. You didn't just walk away from someone. You walked back to yourself. Stronger, clearer, braver. Each of the 6 points we explored today has shown that evolution doesn't come from chaos. It comes from space, from choosing not to chase, from letting go with grace. and most importantly, from trusting that the version of you on the other side of this silence is far more powerful than the version who begged to be heard. You've learned how to breathe through the uncertainty, how to sit in the void, and how to grow in that stillness. That is rare, that is divine. As the philosopher Seneca once said, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. And you, by choosing yourself, by choosing quiet over chaos, you have already taken that courageous step. So if you're still wondering whether the silence is working, trust this, it already is. Because it's shaping you, sharpening you, preparing you for something greater. You no longer wait to be chosen. You have already chosen you. And that's what real evolution looks like. Thank you so much for watching. If this message touched your heart, helped you heal, or reminded you of your strength, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps us keep creating content that feeds your soul. Until next time, stay powerful, stay peaceful, and remember, your silence is your superpower.